The fate of your deal rests in the first 4 seconds of your sales call. That is it. If you can nail the first 4 seconds, often the deal is as good as yours. Now, why is that? It's because of first impressions. Sales rep Sam, for example, always botches his first impression, so even though he was selling a solid product to the right person at the right time, his buyers never stayed interested enough on the phone long enough to hear about it. But Walter, on the other hand, he knows the importance of a strong first impression. He knew that if he played the 3 specific roles that we're going to talk about in this video, 3 specific roles, he would always win over his prospects. And guess what? If you implement the 3 roles that we're going to cover, you can do the same as well. Hi, my name is Will and I make selling simple. Today's video is all about nailing your first impression when you are speaking to a prospect by showing up to every single sales call in 3 specific roles. First, you've got to be the expert. You've got to make sure that your buyers understand that you know what you're talking about. Next, you need to be the equal, because power dynamics can be tricky in sales. And so we're going to look at how to set the right foundation for a healthy, mutual, beneficial relationship with our prospects. And finally, we need to be of value. We need to give our buyers the gut feeling of, okay, this person can actually help us if we start working with them. We're going to see some serious benefits from picking up their calls, replying to their emails, and implementing their solutions. Does that sound cool? Okay, well, let's get into it. First, impressions. They are the foundation for the rest of your sales call, the rest of your sales process, and the chances of you getting the deal done at the end of the sales cycle rely heavily on the first impressions that you set with your prospects. If you come across as a commission-hungry, sleazy salesperson, well, good luck getting in front of your buyers and earning their trust. And there's data that shows first impressions count as well. And first impressions form almost instantly, as soon as 33 milliseconds, according to some recent studies. And on top of all of this, never mind first impressions just in life in general, for sales reps like you and I, they're even more important because your buyers are busy. And in the short time that they may give you on a cold call, a cold email, or just general cold outreach, you need to build rapport instantly and not blow the whole deal. So the question is, of course, how do you do it? How can you win over your prospect in the first 4 seconds of a sales call? Well, it all comes down to playing 3 key roles. And the first role that you need to play is the expert. Because if you come off as unknowledgeable or unprofessional right off the bat, the buyer's not going to spend a minute of their time listening to anything that you've got to say. And if they do listen and you find someone who's suckered into your conversation, into your sales pitch, they're probably just waiting for their first chance to leave. So how do you prove to the prospect that you do in fact know what you're talking about? Well, there are 2 words here that cover this really nicely: social and proof. Because social proof is key to demonstrating your expertise before you even get to your prospect on a call. And there's 3 specific ways that I want you to leverage to start implementing social proof. First off, we have LinkedIn. If your customers are on LinkedIn, they're probably checking out your profile before they engage with you. And thankfully for us, LinkedIn is a great platform for demoing social proof. Endorsements, testimonials, credentials, buyers can see all of this in just a few clicks. But on top of that, they can also take a look at all of the content that you're creating on the platform as well. So make sure that you've at least, a very minimum, completed your profile. Ask for some endorsements. Put some original content out. It doesn't have to be every single day, maybe once or twice a week. And check in on the platform every couple of days to stay active. You don't have to spend more than 15 minutes a day on LinkedIn for it to be a massive, massive asset when you're building social proof with your potential customers. Now, if you're using social selling in your cold outreach to prospects, people are going to see your page immediately. But if you're not using social selling right now, I've got a tip coming up that's going to boost the odds of your prospects checking out your LinkedIn page, so stay tuned for that. The second source of social proof that you've really got to leverage to improve your first impressions is your network. Because who you associate with says an awful lot about who you are. Are you connected with the big names in your industry? Have you worked with the top players before? What brands have you sold for, and what brands have you sold to? A smart buyer is going to do their homework before setting up a call with you, and they're going to check out who you're connected with, most likely through LinkedIn or their own inner networks. Now, if you are especially savvy and if you're in sales for a career as opposed to just a 1 or 2 year stint, you should have your own little tiny website set up that your prospects can check out. Here you can house any content that you're producing for LinkedIn, for example. You can also, more importantly, share your experience, testimonials, client endorsements, any awards you've won, anything like that. So make sure you're doing the work of collecting this kind of social proof from your clients. Ask them for a testimonial. It's so simple. If you've got a good client that you've done tons of work for and they're really happy with the work that you're doing, ask them for a quick one-liner in an email so you can throw it up on your website. And this is going to do wonders for building trust and building social proof before you even hop on a sales call with a prospect. And the final tip here brings all of this together because we need to set up your email. I want you to start sending a call booking confirmation when you book in a call with a prospect. Typically, this email is going to include perhaps a Zoom video link, the time and date, the agenda, anything like that your buyers are probably going to expect from this kind of email. But this email is the perfect place to include some of these pieces of social proof to start the trust building process before you've even got on the phone with the prospect. If you've only got 4 seconds to build that first impression with your prospect when you get them on a phone call or a Zoom call, we need to preload all the value that we offer, all the trust, all the social proof before we even get on that communication with them. Nothing over the top here. You don't want to come on too strong, but perhaps a few testimonials, perhaps a line in your signature that includes links to your website, testimonials, and LinkedIn profile. And finally, why not even point them to a bit of content that you or the organization that you work for has created within the email as well. So that's the first role you got to play. The next role is that of the equal. Now, a successful relationship is one that builds on equality. Each member in the relationship needs to give and take equally. Of course. And if your buyer is the one with all of the power, they're never going to give you the respect and the consideration that you deserve and the respect and consideration that you need to get the deal done. That's why you need to position yourself as an equal with the prospect here. And to fulfill that role of an equal, we need to let your buyer know a few things. First off, we've got to let them know that you are serious, that you're not just some second-rate salesperson that's pestering or bullying prospects into buying. And you're not sending hordes of desperate emails or you're calling the prospects 5 times a day. Nope, none of that nonsense. You're a professional. And to make sure that that comes through, there are a few things that you can do. First off, you need to put some effort into your appearance. Nothing over the top here, nothing too complicated. Clean, smart clothing, comb your hair, have a decent microphone if you're doing Zoom calls, have a background if you're doing Zoom calls that says, hey, I do this for a living and I take this seriously, as opposed to having your feral children and cats and dogs running around behind you. And second, you've got to come prepared. Again, this can happen before you even get on the call. Send out an agenda. Show up on time. Make sure that all the necessary materials that you're going to need for your call, whether you're doing a demo, whatever it is in hand. Make sure that you're prepared. And finally, and this is something that a lot of people get wrong, get to the point. A little bit of small talk at the top of the conversation, absolutely fine, no problem. But don't let things go on for too long. Your buyer's time is more valuable than it ever has been. And you're a pro. Your time is valuable as well. Next up, you need to make sure that your buyers know that you're not a crook. You've got to subtly show the prospect that you don't have to trick prospects into buying from you. And that's because you've got real value to exchange here. This part of the process is covered by social proof, which we touched on at the top of the video. But you can also tweak your language to build trust as well. Stay away from getting too personal or too friendly at the beginning of the relationship. That can often be a little bit weird. Keep your communication professional. No swears or inappropriate stories. And of course, I say this one all of the time, don't badmouth your competition. It might be tempting to bring a competitor down to boost yourself up, but doing so makes your own business come across as shady. And the third way to show that you are an equal to your prospect is to be assertive. So we've got tons of data from our own sales code assessment, which you can take for free with the link below this video. 14,000 sales professionals and small business owners have been through the sales code assessment now. And unequivocally, to have success in sales, you have to be assertive. Don't let the prospect just walk all over you. You can start by taking control of the call at the outset. Be the first to show up, be the first to talk, and be the first to share your agenda. On all of my sales calls, I like to start them off by going, hey, the way these calls usually go is we're going to talk about this, and this, and then you can make a decision as to whether you want to be a part of it or not. Does that make sense? That's a simple, quick, polite way of taking control of the conversation. And depending on your buyer and how assertive they are, they might try and take control back. They might put up a bit of resistance, but don't give up control here. You're the one who's sold this product multiple times. It's very unlikely that the prospect has bought the product more times than you've sold it. So you know what's going to happen more often than not in these calls. So act like you're in control and you know what's going to happen as well. So the final role that you've got to play to build a great first impression on your sales calls is to be a rep that has value. And remember this, right? I don't want to give too much of a kind of motivational talk here, but you're an expert, so you're never going to waste the prospect's time. They are going to get value out of speaking to you. You're an equal, and so you're worth listening to, and you have value to give. Otherwise, the company that you sell for will just not exist. It just wouldn't exist in the business marketplace. So accept that, take it all on board, and understand that you've got what it takes to make your buyer's life better, easier, more affluent, whatever they're after. They've just got to listen to you. So how the heck do you demonstrate all of this? Well, there are a couple of ways. First off, you've got to show that your product is solid. Testimonials, credentials, awards, referrals, and any other social proof nuggets are really powerful here. But if you want to take things a little bit further here, in the agenda that confirms the meeting, the call that you're having, why not point the prospect to a little bit of light reading about your product before they even jump on the call? This could be product details, case studies, even blog posts, whatever it is. If you get your prospect to come to the call confident in what you're selling, you're going to have a far more productive conversation with them. Next up, you've got to show that you are knowledgeable, because in any sale, no matter how good the product is, it can be completely ruined by an unknowledgeable sales rep. Because even in the high logic world of B2B sales, buyers still need to work with someone who knows what they're talking about. They're going to have questions if it's remotely a complex sale whatsoever, and so they've got to know that they can come to you, and if you can't answer the question, at least you can find someone who can answer it for them. And I don't think this used to be true, but for the modern B2B buyer, if they catch even a tiny whiff of you fudging numbers, getting product details wrong, miscommunicating anything, or generally just not knowing what your product does, they're going to head to the hills. They're going to go to a competitor, and fast. It's fine to make mistakes. It's fine to be called out on mistakes and correct them, but make sure that you're doing your due diligence before the call. Otherwise, you're not like a right fool in the first 4 seconds of it. And finally, you've got to make sure that you've done your research. You need to show this prospect that you can specifically help them, not a customer avatar, an ideal customer persona, or any other acronym or marketing term that we're going to put together here. The prospect wants to know that you can help them as an individual. So make sure you know before the call the problems that their business are currently facing, the issues that are cropping up in their specific industry, how their competitors are handling these challenges, and any other variables which position your product as value to the prospect. Because the more you can specifically cater your product's benefits to your buyer's exact needs, the closer to closing you're going to be. Again, if your prospects are on LinkedIn, LinkedIn can be a great research tool here. Dive into what types of content that your buyer has been sharing, creating, and commenting on. Do a little bit of stalking to see what their interests are right now, and get a feel for what they're going to focus on before the call even starts. And even better, if you've helped a business like them in the past, it's got to be very specific though. It can't be a general business in their industry. It's got to be someone who has very similar problems and issues that what they do. Perhaps ask that original company for a testimonial of how things are going. Throw that into the first few minutes of your sales call, and you're going to be crushing quota in no time. So to win over your prospects in the first 4 seconds of your sales calls, you need to be the expert. LinkedIn, networking, and including social proof in the call setup emails are your friends here. Then be the equal. And remember that 1, you're not another stereotypical pesky salesperson chasing and pestering the prospect. And 2, you made it clear that you have value to exchange, not value just to give, value to exchange with the prospect. And 3, you've got to share that you're not some kind of pushover, that you are assertive in your communications. And finally, you need to be of value. You've got a solid product, you are knowledgeable, and you've done your research. And when you put all of this into play, the instant you step on your sales calls, you're immediately going to be building rapport, building trust, and boosting your chances of getting a deal done faster than ever before. So there we go. If you enjoyed this video, why not click the video that's on the screen right now and continue making selling simple.